Come on, boys. Come on, let's go. Let's go, walkies. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. What's the matter with you? Come on.
Incoming message.
Hi and welcome to RC Kicks. On today's show, well, we're back working on the beautiful Tamiya Ford F350 chassis. Now, there's been 2 videos that I've put out already on this build. I'll put a link up here, go check those out. One's the unboxing and one is building to the point that we have here now with the chassis. And yeah, so in this episode, what we're going to do now is we're going to throw the electronics in it, see if we can get the 3-speed transmission working. And that's a little bit different for me because the electronics are a little bit different because you need extra channels. In a normal RC, you only have the steering really, which is 1 servo. So a 2 to 3 channel servo is plenty fine. Whereas in this, it's a little bit different. So what I've got is 2 servos here. And I've got my ESC and I've got a 6-channel receiver from RadioLink, and I'm going to try and use my RC6GS. Now, the only thing different I've done before is in my Clod where I've got dual steering. Again, you can have dual steering on here, but I don't know, I haven't looked in the manual yet whether it's 1 servo dual steering or 2 servos for independent, and then you bind the 2 together, which I did on the Clod. This is a little bit different because basically what I need for the gearbox is you need to have a throw in one direction, a center, and then throw in the other direction. That's how you get your gears to change. So that's a little bit different for something that I've ever done before, but I plugged everything in together and I've managed to bind it to this switch up here. So this switch is a 3-position switch, so it has forward, neutral, and the 3rd position, which is what you want because you need to hold it in the center. The only thing I haven't worked out yet is how I dial in the amount of throw. And now when I fired it up, it seemed to move sort of, I don't know, 20 degrees and then 20 degrees. So I'm not sure if that is going to do it or whether inside the GUI you can actually adjust how much your travel is. So that's something I'm going to have to adventure in, but it looks like this is going to work. So basically I've got my normal throttle, steering, and then I can just flick this switch, go up to high, medium and low. So hopefully that's going to be good because I wanted to use one of these versus my stick because I don't have a like aircraft stick radio and I didn't want to buy a whole separate transmitter receiver just for this car. Right, anyway, that's enough of that. So we carry on page 14 where we start to fit the 2 servos. So let's crack on and get it done. So we're kicking off with the servos and attaching all the servo horns. Now I find that you definitely want to get some servos that have got a bit of strength to them, especially if you're going to do the 4-wheel steer. Make sure you get the orientation correct of the servos to the mounts because I put one on the wrong way round and then I had to realise and undo it and move it. Now we're attaching the servo that's going to be changing the gears for us. It looks like the steering servo, but this is for the gears. This is what ties the steering servo to the front and rear axles. Make sure you get to them around the right way as the tops and the bottoms are actually different. You definitely want to be using Loctite on the bottom as it would be easily undo and just fall out. Now when you bolt the servo to the chassis, make sure you get it on the right side because you can actually mount it on the other side and then you'll have to take it off. Not that I did that, by the way. The four-wheel steer on this is not as bad as the standard clod, but it does have its limitations. I'm not using a standard Tamiya ESC, so the switch doesn't fit inside the switch box. So I've fitted the box anyway with the blanking plate that's provided, and I'll attach the switch to another location. Now the battery door. It's a bit of a strange one, very fiddly, and not quite sure why they made it like this, considering normally they're very simple, but it's a spring-loaded affair. It takes a while to get your head around how you connect the two pieces of metal together, and then how you screw it to the actual opening. It's a little bit fiddly. Take your time. If you want to slow the video down and look at how I did it, I'm not sure if I did it exactly correct, but it's the only way I could get my screwdriver in through to do up the screw, but I managed to make it work in the end. When you're fitting this top plate, make sure you fit it in the right orientation, otherwise you'll be taking it off and putting it on again. As you can see, you've got acres of space for your electronics, so you won't struggle to find a space for your ESC or receiver. The ESC comes with no connectors, so just for simplicity I just soldered them straight to the motor. I don't know if I'll keep this motor in or I'll swap it out for something else, but hey, it was nice and simple, I can always remove it later. And after a good few hours, the truck is alive, all the electronics are in, and I finished the chassis build. I've just put the body on just now to show you kind of more what it's going to look like when it's finished, but everything is working. The four-wheel steer, I put it in low range, there's middle and up, so I'm in low, super low at the moment. Also, I've got a HobbyWing crawler ESC, a crawler motor, and we've got the 3-channel gearbox, which allows me to run super slow. Very, very smooth. Now we're still in low range. That's mid and high. That's mid and low range. And as you can see, it all works brilliantly. So it wasn't as difficult as I thought to get everything working. I'm a big fan of these Radio Link, and they have so much, the GUI has so many features and functions that you can actually get it to do what you want pretty easy. I only messed around for about 10 minutes just to set the endpoints for the gear changes and the endpoints for the steering. There's still some work to be done on the four-wheel steering because you've really got to true it up as best you can. There's one servo driving the front and rear, which can be a bit of a challenge because you want the rear to move slower and have a less throw than the front. Otherwise, if the front turns and the back turns the same amount, you just pitch and roll over. So it's very sensitive on the back. What you really want, like on the Clod, is you want a servo for the rear, servo for the front, and you might only run 30% on the servo on the rear with 100 on the front because you only want the back wheels to turn a small amount because it makes such a massive difference to steering from the rear. So what else is there? Well, suspension wise, I've got it as super soft as I could get it. It's still pretty hard. I mean, it does actually flex now, but there apparently is aftermarket leaf springs that you can get that are about 25% weaker. So that might be worth looking at, because I'm really running on the bare minimum from that point of view. Next, what else have I got to do? The ESC is in its stock form right now. I have got the programmer card, so I will plug it in and change it. Things like the drag brake and the braking on this is set very hard, because it's really for crawling up rocks, and you want it to stop the minute you come off the power. But obviously for a trail truck, you don't want that. So I can go in and set all the features and functions. Reverse force, braking force, initial brake force, drag braking. There's all that you can do just by plugging in and then setting it up. Super easy, massive fan of the HobbyWing stuff. I normally have Tamiya ESCs or HobbyWing, depending on the need, really. So what have I got left to do now? Well, we've got to turn our attentions to the body, hard body, got to sand it down, and then we're going to paint it up. But I'm not going to tell you what colour it's going to be. You're going to have to wait for the next episode. So a massive thanks for watching, and a big thank you to EuroC for sponsoring the video. See you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.